Okay, hello everyone. I hope you're safe and sound at home. And because of the crisis of the coronavirus, we are going to have some classes in this way. So today I'm going to explain to you the grammar notes. And just to remind you, try to wash your hands frequently. Do it for at least 20 seconds and all that stuff to avoid getting sick. And today's lesson is future and 2 plus infinitive. In future, we have three different options, and the first one is will, then going to, and then present continuous. But what's the difference between them? Will is for actions that will happen in the future or situations that will happen, but you are not certain about it. You are not sure. For example, imagine that you're going to get married in the future, and you have planned that for within 10 years. In 10 years, many things can happen. And at the end, you are not going to do that. That's why you are going to say, I will get married within 10 years. Because that's probable, but that's not sure. Then we have going to. Going to is for something that you are completely certain about. For example, let's imagine that next week you are going to watch the soccer match and you have already planned that, you have it in your schedule, and you have the time for doing that. You have everything organized for that, okay? So you are sure about it. And then we have present continuous. In present continuous, you have to be sure as well, but in this case, you are using a structure for the present. For example, if I start doing this, I'm jumping now. This is for the present, but we can change the meaning to another tense. In this case, we can change it to future. How come? Using time expressions, tomorrow, next week, etc. But let's see in detail the usages of each of these structures. The first one is will, and for will we have spontaneous decisions. Let's imagine that you are walking in the street and suddenly you see an old lady carrying some bags. What are you going to do? I guess that you are going to help that lady, right? So you are going to say, I will help you, because that is a spontaneous decision. In the other, then we have opinion, hope, and assumption. Here, the most important word is assumption, because since we are not sure, we have just assumptions. And let's imagine that we have a new president, and this president is not doing things in the way they should be done. Then you may create an assumption in your mind and say that this president will not be re-elected for a second period. And also for hopes and for opinions, because your opinion can change through time. Maybe now you think something about global warming, but in the future you're going to think differently, and also about laws or in general. A promise, offer, or threat. These are not certain. When you promise something to someone, that means that you are going to do your best to accomplish with your promise. But at the end, you are not sure if that is going to happen, because that depends on a lot of factors. And with threats, for example, if I say, I will, if you continue bothering me in that way, I will not help you with your homework assignment. So, in that case, that is a threat. But at the end, maybe you are able to say that. But at the end, you are going to, anyways, help your brother, your little sister, even though they were bothering you a lot. And habit, that is predictable behavior. There is a predictable behavior. For the example here is, we know people who are around us, especially if they are really close. For example, let's imagine you are with your boyfriend or girlfriend watching a movie, and then your boyfriend or girlfriend always falls asleep. So you may be able to say they are going to fall asleep, and you are sure about it because that's what happens all the time. But anyways, that can change. That's why you're going to use will instead of using going to. And just to remind you, will is an auxiliary. It's a modal. It's like could, should, would, and all of them. Then we have going to. Going to is for a near future. It's not for plans for a long term, but for a short term. In will, for example, if you are going to have a company in the future, you cannot say, I'm going to have a company, because that's for sure. You may say, I will have a company, but for doing that, you need a procedure. You need to follow some steps. And at the end, maybe you will have your company, or maybe not. We don't know. But here, with going to, it is near future. If, for example, you have already planned something for next week and you have scheduled that, let's imagine you're going to hang out with someone, or you're going to have a meeting with someone, and you have already scheduled that, then you have a plan. So you are sure that that is going to happen. And you need to, in this case, just if you have like a big reason, you're going to change your plans. But if not, you're going to continue with your plans. That's why we use going to. You intend to do something in the future. You have plans. And here we have to look at definite signs. Here we have to be careful. Because, for example, here, predictable behaviors, you cannot assure that because of a predictable behavior, you are not going, you are going to use going to. You are going to use will, even though you can consider this as a definite sign. Definite signs are stronger, and they need evidence. They need strong evidence so that you can use going to. And then we have present continuous. In present continuous, you have already planned everything, and then you use the continuous tense, which is constructed by verb be plus the base form of the verb ending in ing plus the complement, and that is for actions that are happening now. For example, right now, if I start writing, I'm writing. That is present continuous because we are doing it now. And in order to change that, we're going to add a time expression. For example, I can say, I'm having a meeting with Mike next Monday. In that case, I'm having a meeting means that I'm having a meeting now, but it says next Monday. So it is conveying an idea for the future. And we both, Mike and me, we both know about the meeting. It is already scheduled for both. So let's imagine I'm leaving this country next week. Next week, that's for the future. That means that I already have my ticket, my flying ticket, to go to somewhere else. But that won't be possible because of the coronavirus. Just kidding. Okay, so that's present continuous for future events. But here we have to be careful because we have division in verbs. We have stative verbs and action verbs. Stative verbs are feelings, emotions, and things that cannot change easily. For example, love. If you love someone, you're not going to stop loving someone suddenly. You cannot say, I'm loving you. Either you love someone or you don't, but you cannot be in the middle. And that happens with a lot of verbs. But sometimes they change the meaning. For example, if I say, I'm seeing Rose next week. I'm seeing Rose. It is not that I'm going to see her and to be seeing her for a long time. It's that the meaning there is that we are going to meet. So it depends on the meaning, if we can use or no stative verbs in this tense, in present continuous and in present continuous for future events. So just be careful about it. And that's everything regarding the usage of the future in its different forms. Now let's study the structures that we are going to follow to make sentences in each of those ways that we have for the future. Let's start with will. Will is the auxiliary. So we're going to begin with subject plus auxiliary will plus verb in the base form. Base form, that means without any change in the verb, without any inflection, the verb as it is, plus complement, and at the end a period. Don't forget the period, because if it doesn't have a period, it is not a sentence. Then subject, let's take any subject, for example, he will, now a verb, study, in base form, no changes at all. It doesn't matter that here we have third person singular, and then complement, for his exams. So this is for affirmative sentences. How are we going to make this into a negative sentence? Easy, just add not here between the auxiliary and the base form of the verb. So we're going to have, he will not study for his exams. He will not study for his exams. And here we can join this. Will not becomes won't. But if you're writing academic papers, then you must use the form without contractions. Contractions are just in informal ways, and that's how we make sentences, negative, affirmative sentences and negative sentences. Now, how do we make a question? For making a question, as in other tenses, we are going to use the auxiliary at the beginning of the question. For example, in simple present, we use do. In simple, do or does. In simple past, we use did. So here we are going to use the auxiliary, which is will. So we're going to write first will, and then we continue with subject plus verb in the base form plus complement plus question mark. Don't forget this to make it a question. So the question will be, will he study for his exams? Okay, easy, right? But now you have to answer this, you have just two options, yes or no. And if you say yes or no, you have two other options. You have the option of a short answer and also a long answer. Short answer would be to answer just yes, he will. That's a short answer. Or no, he will not. Or he won't. How do we make this into a long answer? Just adding the rest of the sentence. Yes, he will study for his exams. No, he will not study for his exams. And that's how we make short answers into long answers. But here the answer is just yes or no. And that's boring to ask questions just for yes or no. We need to ask questions to have more information. And for that, we are going to use WH words. We're going to use WH words. For example, what, why, when, what, why, when, where, how. These are who, WH words. If we add these before the auxiliary will in a question, then you are going to ask for more information. For example, why will he study for his thanks. So why? The answer, because he needs to get a 10 to pass the subject or something like that. But you get more information. And that's everything regarding how to use will. Now let's see how to use going to. It's almost the same, but we have to change something. Why? Because with will, you're not going to worry about about making inflections in the verb. You're just going to have will and the base form of the verb, work. Will, talk, and so on. But with going to, you're going to make an inflection not in the base form of the verb, but in the verb to be. You're going to have subject in the affirmative form, subject plus verb be plus going to plus verb in the base form plus complement. For example, Rose is. So here we have to be careful. We're going to conjugate the verb be with the subject. Rose is going to work extra hours. So, subject, verb be conjugated, going to, we're going to use it in the same way always, and then the verb in the base form, so no problem here. You're just going to change the verb, but you're going to use it in the base form. Work, study, dance. But it will be weird to say Rose is going to dance extra hours. And then extra hours, that's the complement. So that's everything for affirmative form. How do we make this into negative form? We are going just to add here the word not. And we're going to combine this with the verb to be, because we have different options. For example, I am not going to. Here you just have one option. You can say I'm not. You cannot combine the verb be and the particle not. But in the others you have two options. For example, you are not going to come to classes. So here you can join the subject and the verb be and say you're not going to come to classes. Or also you can say you aren't going to come to classes. So those are the options we have when we make a negative sentence. And now we are going to talk about questions. It's almost the same principle, an inversion between the subject and the auxiliary. In this case, the auxiliary is be going to. So we're going to, at the beginning, we're going to have the verb be, then just the subject, and then going to. Are you going to come to my party? So here, are you? We have an inversion between the verb be and the subject. And then we have going to come to my party. That's all we're going to do, because here come is going to remain in the base form. And then we have the options for the answers. We have short answers, long answers. Short answers, yes, I am. No, I'm not. But the long answer is to complete the sentence. Yes, I am going to come to to your party. Here we're going to change something. We need to be careful with the pronouns, with the subject pronouns, because here you're asking with you, you're going to answer with I. If you ask something, then the other person is going to answer I. And we're going to change also the possessive adjectives to your body. Your body, not my body. Because this person is asking, this person is answering. And then, no, I'm not. That's the short way. No, I'm not going to come to your body. That's the long answer. And that's everything regarding the grammatical structure that you must follow to make sentences. Now, what are the time expressions that we can use for future? For future, we can use, for example, we can use tomorrow. We have here some examples in the appendixes. Is she seeing him? Is she seeing him tomorrow? So seeing there is, in that case, it's present continuous acting for future, and that's why we have tomorrow. And we have he isn't working next week. Present continuous for future, that's why we use next week. They aren't leaving until the end of next year. The end of next year, that's the clue. And we're staying with friends when we get to Boston. That's the clue. We can change it when we get a diploma, when we finish high school, etc. And those time expressions you can use definitely. If you're using present continuous and you want to convey a meaning for the future, you are going to use a time expression for that. And in these cases, are you going to come to my party? It is not so necessary because here you have the future form. The future form of the verb going to come, but you can add also a time expression. Are you going to come tomorrow to for my party? You can add a time expression for the future. And that's all the explanation regarding future tense. If you have any doubt, I'm going to upload this video and you can add comments and I'm going to answer all your questions. So let's go to the next topic of the grammar notes, and that is the particle to plus infinitive. To plus infinitive. And we're going to focus just on the usages that we can give to that pattern. So we have particle to plus infinitive. Infinitive is a verb in base form. For example, to work, to study, to watch, to say, to write, to play the guitar, and so on. So we have particle and then infinitive. That's a pattern, and we have three different usages. The first usage that we have is with some verbs that need that as a complement. For example, the verb decide. I decide, or I decided in past. I decided. If I say I decided, I'm not conveying any idea. I decided what? We need to add something, and that's why when we need to add a verb, another action, we're going to use this pattern. I decided to work here. So here we have another action, another verb, and that is the complement for this action. That's why we use the pattern to plus infinitive. I decided to work, I decided to study, and so on. And we have a list of verbs that always or almost always require the infinitive pattern. We have intend, plan, went, want, hope, I'd like, decide, agree, refuse, and promise. For example, I promise to be on time. I refuse to work with you. I decide to go to your party. I hope to not get sick. And I want to finish my homework assignment. So with those verbs, most of the time, you are going to use the infinitive pattern, and that's the first usage. The second usage is with an adjective. Adjective plus to plus infinitive. For example, it's fun to play a musical instrument. So second usage, adjective plus the pattern. It's fun to play a musical instrument. So in this case, it's fun to play. You have here the adjective, subject, verb be, to play. So you are complementing the adjective. You are giving feelings and emotions about an activity. To play a musical instrument is fun. It's fun to play a musical instrument. You are giving information about the activity. That's why we use it in that way. Adjective, then particle to, and then verb in base form. That's second usage. And the third usage is for giving reasons. It's for giving reasons. For example, I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to Mexico to learn Spanish. So here, to learn Spanish. That's the reason why you're doing this. I'm going to Mexico to learn Spanish. Another example, I'm going to work in my study guides to learn a lot. I'm going to work in my study guides to learn a lot. To learn a lot, that's the reason, that's the purpose for doing that activity. And this is true because you're going to have to work on some some guides, and you're going to deliver them on April the 14th when we go back to classes. So that's why I use going to and not will, because I'm certain that you're going to work on those activities. So that's all the explanation for the grammar notes, and that's the end of this video. I hope you like it, and I hope this video will be useful for you. And if you have any question, you can ask in a comment. Thanks for your attention.